Signore e signori, buonasera. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to New York University, Casa Italiana Zerilli Marimò. My name is Stefano Albertini. I'm a migrant and I'm also the director of Casa Italiana Zerilli Marimò. Please clap if you're a migrant as well. Thank you. To help me to coordinate, moderate, and help the roundtable dynamics, I have here with me my colleague, Leonardo Campaner, who is a doctoral candidate in the Department of Italian Studies here at New York University. Before I introduce you the artistic delegation, I just want to thank a few institutions and people. First, the Film at Lincoln Center, once was the Film Society. Daniel Batzek, president. He just started a couple of months ago. And he was at the lunch yesterday, was enthusiastic about open roads, and he's a very good friend of Italian cinema, so it's good news for us at Lincoln Center. And then Sullivan, who is the programmer who actually curated the selection of the films that you're going to see at Lincoln Center and that we're going to present here tonight. I also would like to thank Cinecittà, and especially Cinecittà is a huge machine with different divisions, but Cinecittà for us has the friendly faces of Griselda Guerrasio, Monique Catalino, and Rossella Rinaldi. Our friends and colleagues at the Istituto Italiano di Cultura, Anna Botta and Silvia Mogavero, who are the cultural attachés. And of course, Sally Fisher, PR. Sally is not, yes. Sally is not only a PR agency, in Italian we would say è una macchina da guerra, a peaceful one, and a guarantee that things are going to get done. So thank you, Sally, for all you've done for this edition. And we have reached the edition number 24 of Open Roads. So next year is going to be your silver edition. We're going to do even bigger things. I don't know where we're going to put the people, but very good. And now, without further ado, because we have a packed evening, we have about 12 films that we're going to discuss here, and we have a very, very impressive delegation. I'm going to call them, and you can applaud them, and I'm asking them to sit starting from the first seat for the first one I call, and then following. And if you sit in a different position, nothing happens. Okay, please welcome Fabrizio Gifuni, the protagonist actor of The Time It Takes by Francesca Comencini. Alissa Jung, Paternal Leave, the director of Paternal Leave. If she's not here, we're going to start anyway, and when she comes, yeah, very good. Gianluca De Serio and Massimiliano De Serio, directors of Canone Effimero. Sara Fgaier, director of Weightless, Sulla Terra Leggeri. Ferzan Ozpetek, director of Diamanti, Diamonds. Andrea Segre, director of The Great Ambition, Berlinguer, La Grande Ambizione. Alessandro Cassigoli and Casey Kauffman, Vittoria, directors. Lyric de la Cruz, Where the Night Stands Still, Come la Notte, director. Silvia Luzi and Luca Bellino, directors of Luce. Non separiamoli però, no. Mettete qua. Antonio Piazza and Fabio Grassadonia, Sicilian Letters, Iddu. And I believe, so we only are waiting for Alissa, right, to come? Everybody else is... Okay, very good, no problem. So maybe if we can have Ferzan here, e tu se sei nascosto ti metti qua. Leo and I are going to sit on this stage, like this.
I might stand.
Or you're going to stand, I'm going to sit because I'm old. Sì. Io. Vuoi che la possiamo abbassare? Giulian, il regista, mi dice che la luce è terribile, abbassiamole un po'. Sì. Allora, so we start. The order is going to be the discussion of the film is going to be the same order of the trailers that we saw, and we're going to follow that order. So the first film that we are going to briefly discuss is The Time It Takes, il tempo che ci vuole. It's subito, così poi ti liberiamo. Fabrizio Gifuni, I believe he remembers, it's the fourth time here at the Casa, mostly with Open Roads, but also in other occasions. We are delighted to have him back. And for this film in particular, The Time It Takes, Francesca Comencini, a very strong autobiographical film about her relationship with her own father. Do you want to tell us something as way of introduction to the film? Whatever you want to tell us. Plot, emotions, whatever you want.
Allora, intanto buonasera a tutti, good evening everyone. Dunque, che cosa dico? Che questo è un film sul cinema, perché è un grande omaggio che Francesca Comencini fa a suo padre, che è stato un grandissimo regista italiano, Luigi Comencini.
Traduce Leo.
Ecco.
Yeah. So this is a film, firstly, about cinema itself. It's a great homage that the director Francesca Comencini did for father Luigi Comencini, who was a great Italian film director, author of many works, and had a very long career, decades-long career.
Ma il piccolo grande miracolo che secondo me Francesca è riuscita a fare raccontando una storia così personale è stata quella di rendere questa storia una storia universale, una storia semplicemente di un rapporto profondo, combattuto, drammatico tra un padre e una figlia.
And the great miracle that Francesca was able to do is to turn something that was like a private, intimate story into a universal story about a relationship, a very tender and at the same time dramatic relationship between a father and a daughter, and between two creative souls as well.
E c'è un'idea di fondo molto coraggiosa e a mio avviso anche molto poetica, che è stata quella di isolare questi due personaggi e di rimuovere completamente tutti gli altri personaggi di questa storia, in particolar modo tutta la famiglia, perché la famiglia Comencini è una famiglia abbastanza numerosa, ma nel film appaiono soltanto questi due personaggi, un padre e una figlia. Per metà del film questa figlia è una figlia piccola, è una figlia nell'età felice della scoperta dell'infanzia, e nella seconda parte del film c'è una figlia adulta, giovane, nella sua giovinezza. No, ma ci siamo, ancora si può fare, sì, dai, sì, ancora si può fare. E lì, vabbè, insomma, e lì le cose si complicano, perché ovviamente non c'è più la semplicità di un incontro, di un rapporto con una bambina, che in qualche modo dipende completamente dal padre, ma c'è un rapporto tra due adulti.
So the great poetic idea that Francesca had, the director, was to isolate these two characters, the father and the daughter, sort of leave everybody else either on the background or out of the film, sometimes even members of the rest of the family, and focus entirely on them. In the first part of the film, it's the relationship as it unfolds during Francesca's childhood, so the relationship of an adult father and a young girl. And then in the second part of the film, she grows up and it's her as an adult. And of course, this brings further complications of all sorts, as you may imagine. And I think that's basically the point, yeah.
Io credo di essere stato abbastanza fortunato, anzi anche molto fortunato nei miei incontri professionali, sia in teatro che in cinema. Ho avuto la possibilità di incontrare grandi maestri, registi, tanti registi esordienti che sarebbero poi diventati dei grandi registi, e non amo le classifiche, però devo dire che questo film, nella mia esperienza, è uno dei film a cui sono più legato in assoluto. È stata una delle esperienze più belle, più profonde, più felici, anche durante la lavorazione, ed è stata un'esperienza così felice che la mia paura, la paura di Romana Maggiora Vergano, che è una bravissima attrice che interpreta il ruolo di Francesca, e anche quello di Francesca Comencini, dopo aver vissuto questo set così bello, era, diciamo, che poi il risultato non corrispondesse a questa grande gioia che avevamo provato, e quindi quando poi è uscito il pubblico e le reazioni sono state così belle, così calde, sia in Italia che in Francia, siamo stati tutti molto felici.
So I've been very fortunate to have worked with many great directors, both in theater and in film, and I don't particularly like rankings, but I do consider this the experience of making this film one of the happiest, most joyful that I've ever had in my career. And the atmosphere on set was so great between me and the director and the rest of the cast and the other actress who plays Francesca in the film, that our main fear was that the result would not match the sort of the greatness of the experience that we all had doing it. And luckily when the film played in the festivals and with the audiences, and it seemed to confirm that our feelings on set were in fact true.
E come ultima cosa, che credo sia importante per chi di voi non ha avuto la possibilità di vederlo l'altra sera al Lincoln Center o di vedere fra qualche giorno la replica, la seconda visione, il film sarà distribuito, è stato già acquistato negli Stati Uniti, non so esattamente quando uscirà, ma spero che quando arriverà il momento tutti voi abbiate la possibilità di vederlo.
So for those of you who haven't had a chance to see yet, it's played once at Lincoln Center, but aside from the Lincoln Center screenings, the film has been acquired for US distribution, and it will come to a screen near you so soon enough, hopefully.
Thank you, Fabrizio. And I had a question ready, but you were very exhaustive, and I think we needed to have that kind of introduction. Very useful. So, Leo, the next one.
Well, the next one is Paternal Leave, but do we have Alissa? Has she made it yet?
No, so just go on to the next one.
Okay, we'll go to the next one. Okay, the next one is Canone Effimero, so it's back to you. Yeah. And we have the directors right over there. Yeah.
Okay. Canone Effimero, we can say very simply, without simplifying, it's a documentary. And I would say it's a documentary, but it's also a monument that you are erecting to a tradition that runs the risk of disappearing, because it normally doesn't have a written form of transmission or a recorded. They're a very rare recording. So the music of the people in different regions of Italy, the so-called popular music or folkloric music. So it's basically a journey through the Italian peninsula where you help the viewers discover or rediscover these tones, these notes, these melodies that are ancestral. They have something in common, but they're also very different. How did you get this idea? Are you both ethnomusicologists, or you decided to tell us something about you and about the film?
Thank you, and thanks to all the people that came here to listen these poor guys talking about poor cinema. No, we are very glad. Yes, as you said, Stefano, Canone Effimero is not only a journey, but it's a kind of immersion into another Italy, a hidden Italy. Maybe then also now, us as Italians, we don't know. So we went with our little crew, 5 people with a van, and we go to discover these little communities that struggle against the homologation of culture, and for us was also a discovery because not only about music but mostly about singing, polyvocal variation form of polyvocal singing that comes from very old roots in the centuries. So how we came to this topic, we always worked in our previous movies about oral importance of the word and the expression of oral traditions in different ways. But this time we wanted to make a reflection about something that we don't see, even if these subjects are really close to us in our countryside. Max.
Your English is incredible, amazing, bellissimo.
You are all Italians, maybe.
Next time I will to
speak.
beat him, you should sing.
Okay, yes, maybe. I know I can't sing.
No, thanks to Dan Salion that I don't know why he's crazy because he selected us for the 4th time, so we are really glad to come back here, and we are happy also because the director of photography of this film is an Italian who lives in New York and is here. It's Piero Basso.
Piero.
Professor Piero. Thanks, Piero. No, he teaches photography at the New York Film Academy, and he's also a very close friend of us. And we started with him making film in Torino, is our hometown. And I just want to tell you a little thing more. I think that this film, that is really for us was very amazing to do this film because we traveled all across our country and we discovered beautiful dishes and wine. We really enjoyed. For the first time, maybe in our life like this,
We had fun.
we had a really fun. But in the same time, we understood that our culture is made by different cultures, by different languages too, because these people in our film sing different languages, dialects, cultures. They come from not only the Italian languages, as for example the Sicilian, the Calabrian, etc., but also other that we can also find out of the today Italy, for example Albanian, Maghreb, France. So it maybe tell us something of important now, because in a moment that our politics, for example, build some walls everywhere and war, we can discover our roots because of their diversity. That was a discovery.
Absolutely. Thank you. The movie is Canone Effimero. Check it out. The main reason we do this thing every year, and we love doing it, is that we hope to convince you to go online at the website of the Film Society Lincoln Center, book your tickets, and go see the movies. That's your first assignment. Then second thing would be, when the movies are distributed in this country, well, before they go, gonna make sure that they show us the receipt of the ticket. Then, Leo.
Well, next up we have Weightless, Sulla terra leggeri in Italian, and it's Sara Fgaier, sitting right there.
Thank you. Good evening to everyone.
So the film is a very, very moving film about memory and loss, the way that I saw it, at least, and about the memory as a kind of instrument, a therapeutic instrument to overcome loss. And correct me if I'm wrong. I want to obviously tell us a little bit about how you came to this idea, if my reading is correct at all. And in particular, how it relates, because the protagonist is also an ethnomusicologist, and that we assembled the program to so that both films would be next to each other about ethnomusicology. Ethnomusicology is very central to the film. Yes, I guess tell us a little bit about how you came to the idea and how ethnomusicology informed these themes about memory and about loss that I felt that you wanted to explore as I was watching the film. Thank you.
Sì. Allora parlerò in italiano. Sì, è vero quello che dicevi rispetto alla memoria che illumina il passato, però è anche vero che in questo caso questa amnesia che il protagonista sta vivendo diventa per lui uno strumento potente per scoprire desideri, emozioni che si è sempre nascosto, cioè, che magari non ha mai realizzato prima, no?
It's true that memory is what helps us shed a light on the past, but at the same time, the amnesia that is the main reason for the film that hits the protagonist of the film is not a complete loss, it's a chance for him to reconsider things that he did not consider originally.
Esattamente, credo che chiunque di noi, di fronte a delle memorie di tanti anni fa, dei diari, delle lettere, possiamo a volte far fatica a riconoscerci, no?
Because all of us can make an effort and struggle when we read letters or diary entries from many years ago, recognizing ourselves in what we read.
Ci vuole un grande coraggio, anche perché spesso possiamo imbatterci proprio in sconosciuti, no? E quindi diciamo che la storia di Gian è proprio una lotta con la memoria, con i ricordi, per cercare di salvare, diciamo, dall'oblio tutte le persone che siamo stati nel corso della nostra vita.
And it's something that requires a lot of bravery. You need to be courageous because sometimes you do not recognize the persons that you have been before in your life. And the struggle of the protagonist is really to come to terms with the different persons that he has been in the course of his life.
E quindi sono partita, diciamo, da questo interrogativo, cioè chi siamo in relazione a chi eravamo.
So the main question is, who are we in relation to who were we before?
E anche da chiedermi che cosa succede quando dimentichiamo l'amore della nostra vita e viceversa quando l'amore della nostra vita ci dimentica.
What happens when we forget the love of our life, or in turn, when the love of our life forgets us?
E rispetto al discorso dell'etnomusicologo che è in comune con il vostro film, sì, diciamo il film è stato un po' un viaggio, è stato girato in Italia, in diverse regioni, durante un vero carnevale, in Tunisia, durante un rituale stambeli, quindi tutti i luoghi che ho immaginato potessero essere legati anche alla professione del protagonista.
So the profession of the ethnomusicologist gave a chance to the director to undergo a journey not only in Italy but also in Tunisia. So there is the real images of a carnival in Italy and images of a ritual in Tunisia. Come si chiama?
Tunisia, stambeli.
Stambeli ritual in Tunisia. That's the other part where the professor studies the traditions and the singing of Tunisia. So it's a chance also to explore the different places that somehow shaped him.
Sì, diciamo che proprio il film in realtà era nato, la mia primissima idea era fare un documentario sul carnevale sardo.
So the first idea was to make a documentary about the Sardinian carnival. But you didn't go to Sardinia with this one, or you did? Yeah, you did.
Yes.
Yeah. Per cui c'è un nucleo
Sì,
di
sì,
quello.
sì, c'è una scena madre importante in cui ci sono sia materiali documentari che ho girato per 2 anni, sono andata a girare con una troupe molto piccola, di immagini documentarie, però già in pellicola, e poi sono tornata una terza volta con gli attori.
So she went 2 years before with a small crew to record, to have footage of the Sardinian carnival, and then she went a third time with her crew and her cast to shoot for the film.
Ed è stato, l'avevo scoperto io guardando delle immagini in un archivio e mi aveva molto colpito perché è molto diverso dal resto del paese, come è proprio un rituale più che una festa, è molto cupo, violento.
So she was fascinated because she discovers images of this Sardinian carnival in an archive, and she was struck because it's everything but what you normally think about carnival, like Venice and other places like that. It's very dark, it's very somber. it's very threatening on some level.
E vivendolo effettivamente si sente ancora un filo tra i vivi e i morti e la possibilità di, diciamo, un dialogo con l'invisibile. Questa è la
And
cosa più
living
forte.
these moment that is not a party, it's a ritual. You have these moment of recollection between the living and the dead that seems to be possible at some point, and that's what you explored and found.
Esatto, sì, perché poi in fondo quello che riesce il protagonista a fare è un po' la prova più difficile, che è perdere qualcuno e riuscire a ritrovarlo.
And in the end, that's what the protagonist aims to do, is to find somebody that you lost. That's the ultimate goal of the whole thing. Grazie.
Next up, we have Diamanti, Diamonds.
Ozpetek, director, one of the most prominent and popular Italian directors. I believe Diamanti was the most seen film in theaters in Italy in 2024.
Yes.
Yes. Don't be shy, Ferzan. You can be proud of your success, and we are very happy.
Yes. Yes,
And
right.
Diamonds, it's a film that has about 18 actresses.
Yes.
Many of them with whom you worked before, and some of them were discoveries or that you hired for this specific thing. Tell us how you got the idea of making a film about these diamonds, and the diamonds are these women, in a beautiful setting that is a theater and cinema costume atelier in the 70s. So everything is perfect in terms of the environment, the sets, the costumes. Why the 70s? Why una sartoria teatrale? And why 18 women?
E sono 10 anni che io volevo fare un film con le mie attrici, perché comunque lavorare con le attrici c'è una piccola differenza dagli attori, hai un'intesa molto più forte, quindi avevo queste intenzioni e quando... Perché ridete?
Ha fatto un piccolo movimento con le sopracciglia.
No, volevo dire, quindi è stata una cosa molto facile anche da fare, perché ho chiamato le mie attrici, alcuni non potevano, quindi le ho sostituite, ma sulla carta era un film molto difficile, perché ogni mattina partivano 18 macchine e andavano a prendere le attrici, 18 assistenti, trucco, costumi, perché erano tutto poi negli anni 70, c'era oggi anche anni 70, quindi è stato, sulla carta era molto difficile, invece è andato molto 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 facile, molto bella, mi ha dato veramente delle bellissime sensazioni. Le sensazioni più belle ho avuto anche subito dopo con l'uscita del film, perché è stata straordinaria l'accoglienza del film.
Yeah, so I've been planning for 10 years to make a film with all the actresses that I've already worked on worked with before, all together, and so I've had more of a relationship with these actresses than with some of the other actors that I work with. And yeah, it was a film that was complex from a production standpoint. It came together the period setting, of course, the 70s, and the costumes and a lot of things. But it went very, very smoothly, and it was one of the best experiences that I've had making a film. I was very happy with it.
And Ferzan, in this film, for the first time, you yourself appear. We can see you on the screen, and you're not Alfred Hitchcock. You have not done it in all your previous films. So does this mean that this film is really very special to you, because you felt at ease and you felt totally relaxed when you were
ma il motivo è stato questo, nel senso che io i film preparo come nel film, cioè chiamo tutti i miei attori, si legge il copione, siccome gli attori hanno un sesto senso, sono degli animali che hanno un sesto senso molto forte, riscrivo la sceneggiatura e li faccio aspettare 10 giorni, 15 giorni, riscrivo la sceneggiatura. In questo caso avevo messo al mio posto Stefano Accorsi e parlando con Mina, che ormai ha preso il posto di Piero Tosi, che per anni Piero Tosi è stato il mio punto di riferimento.
Piero Tosi, ricordiamo, un grandissimo costumista cinematografico.
E Mina
teatrale.
invece sono 10 anni che legge i miei romanzi, legge le mie sceneggiature, vede i film premontati e dice delle sue cose, che sempre indovina tutto. In questo caso mi ha detto: Fersan, tu non puoi mettere Stefano Accorsi, se metti Luisa Ranieri che fa Luisa Ranieri, Jasmine Trinca fa Jasmine Trinca e il regista è Stefano Accorsi. Stona, dovresti fare te. E hai fatto anche dei spettacoli teatrali, faccio Fersaneide, questo stand up in Italia, che cioè in varie città che l'ho fatto. Però ho detto, sai, girare un film è un'altra storia, cioè stare sul palco. Ho detto vabbè, ci provo, perché gli ho dato ragione. E il primo giorno infatti dicevo non esistono le telecamere, nessuno ti riprende, convinciti di questa cosa. E è andato avanti così. Sulla parte finale invece mi è venuto molto naturale, perché vabbè, chi non ha visto il film non dico, okay, vabbè. Comunque insomma c'è
un gran finale, diciamo.
Non è andato così con grande difficoltà. Se non ero occupato nella vita avrei rimorchiato tantissimo, perché nel film risultò molto bene, insomma.
Voglio sentire rimorchiato, Leonardo.
I'm working on that.
Però sono occupato, quindi non so.
That's right. Usually I write the script and I gather the actors, and with the rehearsals, new things emerge, and then based on what comes up, because the actors have a sixth sense, then I sort of send them home and I rework the script based on what came out in the rehearsal. In the case of my role, I had originally cast Stefano Accorsi, who's, for those of you who might not know, is also a very big Italian actor, very prominent. But one of my collaborators, Mina, told me...
Mina, you know, she's the legend of Italian music, from the 50s until now. She's like,
and she told me...
Pause. With Mina, we pause a second. And
we had to pause. And she's watched a lot of my things I worked on, and she told me that when you have actresses playing themselves in the film, then it makes no sense that you should have Stefano Accorsi in it. You should play yourself. And of course, I was very nervous at first with the cameras. I had not done it before. But I think I may have forgotten the part about rimorchiato, but maybe you can help me.
The diplomatico. He said that he's happy by the way in which he...
Oh, okay, yeah.
È uscito così bene sullo schermo che...
Oh, he came out so well on the screen. He was piercing the screen, as we say, bucare lo schermo, that it would have been very popular with the ladies if I had done this for a job instead of
the ladies. Bravo Leo, bravo.
Non c'era questa luce nel film,
This light was not in the film.
Ma non l'abbiamo un po' aggiustata, la abbassiamo ancora un po'?
Vabbè, no, sto giocando.
No, veramente?
Sto giocando. No, però c'è una cosa importante, questo fatto io ho raccontato la mia gioventù di 16 anni di aiuto regia, e lavoravo con dei registi, facevo l'assistente, portavo gli attori o registi alla sartoria, accompagnavo lì, ti occupavi del caffè, che stavano bene, l'appuntamento, le cose così. La cosa più importante che ho imparato nella sartoria, poi mi sono accorto dopo, la luce, il dettaglio e il colore sono tre cose fondamentali nella vita, soprattutto nel cinema, anche nel primo appuntamento amoroso, sempre importante, insomma.
Mai il neon, diciamo, mai un appuntamento al neon.
No, mai.
So in my career, 16 years of career as an assistant director, I learned that light and color, what was the third? Detail are the most important things, both in film and in life, even in dates, in dating.
Non è che scopriamo che tutti parlate in italiano, che stiamo facendo tutto... No.
Many.
No, ma
chi è che parla in italiano di voi?
Almost.
Vabbè, allora...
Not everybody.
No, and even if only one didn't speak that, we always make a promotion. it's a good chance. Learn Italian. There are many places in which you can do it. But we are very happy that you're here and that you have an interest in Italian cinema. And who knows, maybe from Italian
Posso
cinema.
chiedere un'altra cosa?
Certo.
Chi è che ha visto dei nostri film di che stiamo parlando?
Di questi dell'edizione questo in generale?
Di questi qua.
How many of you have already seen some of their films at Lincoln Center? Okay, good.
È molto carino.
Alcuni non sono ancora stati visti.
Grazie a Ferzan Ozpetek.
Grazie.
E al prossimo.
Grazie mille.
And next up, we have Andrea Segre, who's sitting right here next to me,
Hi.
with the film Berlinguer, La Grande Ambizione, The Great Ambition in English. The first question I guess I had was, it's a great film. I really enjoyed it, very profound, moving, and complex and sophisticated. And I was just wondering, like, I guess you get these questions a lot, I'm sure, but I think it's worth asking, why Berlinguer now, today? What does this figure say to us nowadays? And if some of the answer to this question may be obvious, but
just for our American friends, Enrico Berlinguer
course,
was the Secretary General of the Italian Communist Party at the moment in which the Italian Communist Party was the largest communist party in Europe, maybe the world, because in the other places people didn't get a chance to vote, and very popular figure, beloved by people not only of his party. So we're talking about the 70s and the early 80s. And so very iconic figure in Italian politics and Italian history.
But consider your question, I think that the film is about a large community of people who had a great ambition, and the great ambition was to build a society without inequalities, and to avoid that society and democracy could be controlled by few oligarchs and their friends.
It sounds very close to home. Thank you.
Well, so following up on that, I guess what in terms of working with Elio Germano, so great actor, a very popular actor in Italy, what was the process like, I guess, about sort of tackling this role for him? What was it that you discussed? In particular, was there any part of the portrait, any part of Berlinguer's personality that in particular you worked on that had to be gotten right?
So when I had the idea to make this film, I spoke about this idea first of all with my co-writer Marco Pettenello, who is not simply a co-writer, is a friend, and we wrote everything, all my films together, but we are also friends from long time. And right after I spoke with Elio, I called Elio even before speaking with producers or others. I called him, and so I know him since long time, but we never worked together. I told him that I had this idea, and he was like silent for 10 minutes, and then he told me, okay, it's a good idea, fuck you. And then we told to ourselves that we should start a long travel that we weren't sure to achieve, to be successful, because there were a lot of risk, economically, culturally, politically speaking, and so we knew that was a challenge, and we started together. Right after I spoke also with the producers, of course, Marta Donzelli and Gregorio Paonessa. And we studied a lot, because we spent a lot of time in a wonderful archive, that is the archive Antonio Gramsci in Italy. It's the archive where are conserved all the minutes of all the political meetings of the Communist Party. And we spent weeks to reading all these minutes. And then there are conserved in this archive also all the handwritten diaries of not only diaries, also speeches or notes of Enrico Berlinguer during his meeting with other politicians. So it's really a rare and very emotional archive, and we spent a lot of time in that. And then we spent a lot of time, and Elio was very curious every time he was asking me what was happening. And then when we started the preparation of the film, he decided to spend times in the same archives. So he decided to have a time for researching, and we discussed a lot with Elio and also with the other actors, because in this film there are not 18 wonderful women, but 48 terrible men. Because at that time, so the politics was made only by men. Now everything has changed, so as you know, and so all the main actors were men, and so we organized together long meetings, assemblies, discussing what was happening in those years. Discussing was like rebuilding the communist direction office of that time somehow, and then of course Elio started also to and also the other actors, they started to enter in the characters, and of course they used their incredible talent also to somehow imitate, but of course it's not a question of imitation, it's a question of immersion, of interpretation. And I decided not to change the faces of the actors, so he's Elio, he doesn't look like Enrico, and also all the others, but they enter in the characters, and this was also one way to build a relation that I hope is a very key relation in the film between the memory and the present.
I have just a very quick follow-up on this. Since you talked about research, something I was very interested in is like, how did based on the research, what was the criterion that you utilized to select which particular scenes and parts, if there was a through line, I guess, because a lot of emphasis is placed on his family life and his relationship with the family. That was very interesting as well, and then his meetings with the other party members. So I was wondering if you had any other additional thoughts on this.
Yeah, with Marco, my co-writer, we decided that the script of the film, the dramaturgic development of the film should be based on real events, historical events. So we didn't create, as it happened in other historical films, and it's of course it's legal. It's not illegal. We didn't create a sort of parallel drama, but we decided to follow the line of the events. But as you noticed, of course, we had to select, because there were thousands of other things happening in those years. The film goes from 73 until 78, and were years very, very lively and full of very important moments. And our job was somehow a sort of, we transform ourselves in a sort of sculptor, sorry. Mm-hmm. Because after months of researching, we had like a huge mass of information, and then we started to decide which were essential and which not. And that was the way in working in the events and also in the private part of the film. We collected working with the families, with the family of Berlinguer, and we worked also with other families of other members of the party. We collected a lot of witnesses, histories, memories, and then we decided which were important and also useful to build this dramaturgical development, which is connected to the historical events and also the private part, as always also a political historical reasons to be there.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Next up is Vittoria.
No, vuoi fare Alissa, che è arrivata?
Oh, sure. Should we go? We can go back to you. All right. So let's move back to Paternal Leave by Alissa Jung. Let's give a round of applause. Thanks for joining us. So one thing that I guess the first thing is that it's also a father-daughter relationship, like Il tempo che ci vuole, but very different from it in the sense that it's about a young father and an absent father, largely absent father. So I guess like the first question is a little bit general, like if you can tell us a little bit how you came to this idea, what was important for you to explore with this, yeah, we can start with that.
First of all, sorry that I'm late. I'm really embarrassed. I stepped into water and I thought, well, I will run back to the hotel to dry my fortune socks because today's the premiere and I have to wear them. And well,
there are pink flamingos on the socks.
Yes, because there are flamingos in the movie. Sorry. Now, how I wanted to tell a story about parents-children's relationship, and I wanted to explore this relationship because I think that it's something which accompanies us, all of us, because we're all children, and a lot of us are as well parents. I'm a daughter, I'm a mother, and this relationship I've seen in my life from different perspectives, and I think it's a wonderful relationship, full of love often, but often there's as well a lot of pain, and sometimes a lot of pain. So I thought it would be interesting to explore this. And I chose this absent father and a daughter wanting to somehow confront him with her existence, so that I had an extreme situation where I could explore all the feelings underneath.
Thank you. And yeah, I think one of the interesting things is because the father is absent, as a young father with a teenage daughter, the relationship is at times reversed. In many ways, she acts more like a parent at times than he does. And other times she needs her father and he cannot be there, or he tries to be there, but he struggles. And these ambiguities stood out in the way that you explore them, the nuances of this. And I was wondering if you had anything else to add to that. Another thing also perhaps that I felt watching it was that also there's an exploration of masculinity, of fragile, vulnerable masculinity. I was wondering if that was also on your mind as you were making the film.
Yes, no, thank you. When I chose this absent father, I didn't understand this father. I didn't understand how somebody do not want to meet the child, not to be responsible, okay, but not willing to at least spy on the child. I didn't understand. So it was more or less a journey with my main character, Leo, 15 years old, to get to know this father. And in exploring, I realized that there's so much pressure on men in this society somehow, so that all of a sudden I like in the beginning I thought he's just an asshole, and then slowly I got to know him more or less, and I realized that he's struggling so much because he has no beautiful image of a father. He has just this patriarchal strong man who has to nurture the family and has to be there and cannot be weak, never. And so he's escaping this because he thinks he cannot do this. And so more or less, in the last 6 years, I now blame society for absent fathers and not the fathers anymore.
All right, thank you. I think we're round of applause. And now we go back to Vittoria.
Yes. Vittoria, we have the directors, Alessandro Cassigoli and Casey Kauffman. Eccoli. So, sì, fate un po'.
No, it's okay.
Musical chairs. Mettiamo un po' di musica.
Now that I have the microphone, I ask, can you turn off the AC? Because I'm
Can we?
Do you want the short answer? No, we can't.
Thank you.
Because, no, I know. It's frustrating. We don't have a thermostat and we cannot adjust it. And we need to call NYU, and NYU maybe is going to send an engineer. Allora, Vittoria, when I saw the film, it's a film about adoption. Then you're going to tell us something more about it. The first connection I made was with a film by Mario Monicelli that doesn't have anything to do with your film. But the title was Speriamo che sia femmina. The protagonist of your film does not sit there and hopes that it's going to be a girl, but she does everything she can to make sure that the child they're adopting is going to be a girl, because that's what she feels is going to fulfill her life in a way that is not fulfilled up to that point. And she's a very successful woman. She has a business, she has a good family, children, but she misses having a daughter. Where did you get that idea and how did you develop it?
Well, hi everybody. Thanks a lot for taking so much interest and listening to all of us talk about our film. Alessandro and I, we were not interested in this theme of international adoption. We knew nothing about it. Of course, we think it's interesting now. But we came across this story really by chance. But we met this family, we met this woman on a previous film. And when she told us her story, we were surprised, right? And we kind of, it was our personal surprise that pushed us to make the film, because, yeah, the film, it's the true story of an international adoption, but I guess on a bigger level, it's really the story about a desire that this woman has that everybody around her thinks is irrational, crazy, unnecessary. And I mean, imagine this woman kind of has it all. She has a job and a business and a loving family, loving husband, 3 sons. But shortly after the death of her father, she has a recurring dream in which her father brings her a daughter, a little girl. And she can't get this out of her mind. It's driving her crazy. And finally she tells her husband, I think I need to go get this girl. And of course her husband, imagine the husband's reaction. Because of a dream, you want to go adopt a child and potentially blow up the family. I mean, he thought it was totally crazy. So it follows international adoption, the story, but it's really about desire and who decides what desires are valid, and how loved ones.
The microphone is not on.
Oh, it's not on.
That's what it is.
Could you hear me anyway? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Testing. Oh yeah, that makes. Yeah. Grazie, Giovanna. Yeah.
Now you have to say again.
Yeah. Did you hear me? I think you heard me. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, that's really what the story is more about. Is like who decides what desires are valid. Yeah.
And so you said that the story is based on a true story, and the actors are also somehow playing themselves. Do I understand that correctly?
Yeah.
So
The story, it's the real story. It's the real story of a family from Torre Annunziata, which is a small city next to Naples. And what is particular in this film is that we choose as actors the real people that live that story. So basically, it's a kind of let's say reenactment in a way. And for us it was a wonderful experience because of course there are non-actors. She's an hairdresser, you will see in the film, he's a carpenter, but since the first time that they told us the story, and since the time we were writing the screenplay, so we were talking with them, we saw that there was a strong emotion inside them. They were crying while telling the story, and so we thought, okay, this is, the emotion is there, so we just need to get this emotion on camera, and so of course in our way, so we work with a small crew, also with a small budget, but
was it shot in their homes and in the
in their
shop
home, and also they play themselves, but also there's like the sister is the real sister, the psychologist, the real psychologist, and so on, and so it's a way, it's, I would say, particular way to make a film, but I hope you will come and you will enjoy.
It still hasn't screened. It's tomorrow. It's tomorrow at 6.
The title of the film is Vittoria. The directors are Alessandro Cassigoli and Casey Kauffman. Thank you.
Next up, we have Come la notte, Where the Night Stands Still, Lyric de la Cruz. Feel free to like step out a little bit so we can see you a little.
Molto più ghiaccio qua.
Thank you. So, this is a film about a Filipino domestic worker in Italy who inherits basically her old employer's house and fortune, and then is visited by younger siblings. And it's a very intimate film, a quiet film, and yet there's a tension that runs through a sort of bruise underneath it all between, I guess, different experiences of migration, of labor, different family relationships, but also dual identities, in-betweenness and hybridity. And I guess if you can tell us a little bit about if this was a correct description, and if you want to say how you sort of explored and navigated your way through these themes in the film.
Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon to everyone, and thanks for coming again. Well, the film itself, it's a film about time. It's a question about how time has been transformed by capitalism. Because time relates to movement of people, and how also colonialism goes through that kind of process of changing the body, migration. It's related to time. So, the film talks a lot about how this parts of colonialism, of capitalism, stole these things from the people, especially, in Italy, you have a lot of Filipino workers. I think number one of the biggest migrants that you have, and you have this term Il mio Filipino, Peruviana, Il mio Filipino, Romania, who are cleaning the houses of mostly rich people. And so for this film, we would like to, when we think, because we have a collective, it's called Il mio Filipino Collective. It's in a way of like reclaiming the identity that has been created by the territory of what can a Filipino do in a territory. And it's something that is relatable because in other countries, when you also migrate, and I think most of you can relate to it, when you are being encapsulated of what can you do, it is something that I think that's the beauty of the extension of cinema. Here, in a way, we hear people talk about an old woman, Filipino woman, talk about sex in a film. And it is rare to hear a cleaning lady to talk about sex in film, in this long lunch that happened in this villa. And I feel it's something that gives us not even a representation. I don't believe in the representation, but rather an acknowledgement in the territory where you chose to be, and you start to create roots. Because, as I said, when I was working with the Filipino workers, because I also work in the contemporary art, and I have been researching about them since 2017. My mom is also a domestic worker in the Middle East. I do in Italy also to hustle cleaning. So I am very related to this. And so when I asked them, like, how do you feel and how do you see yourself in the Italian territory? And I've had a very a great answer that I always carry. Tess, the protagonist, told me, when I started to be here in this land, I started to take care of people. I don't take care of people just for the money. I take care of people because I love these people. And now she's Italian. And she said that she's really, she created roots in Italy. And part of, I think, of how we see, to deconstruct the identity is also, this kind of embracing the dualities, the complexities of identity in a territory. And so, yeah, it's a very simple film. but it's a very similar. But in the discussion of temporalities, it's also a bit challenging because we some people call this like an art house slow cinema and everything like this, but we just want to also to put in this film, it's a conscious decision. Because also I coming from documentary and it's my first fiction, I also try to put the idea of really time because for me to see a woman cleaning for like 5 minutes is poetry already, but also it's a way of archiving of how these gestures and movements are also nobody who will tell our story. And I think it is a way to reclaim and to to create our own history, and not in the idea of how the colonial or the Western mind can write about it. No, because in a way of understanding of how we can make tools to decolonize, to create solidarities and alliances, it's also to face these nightmares. Because in the film, we also tackled how the people who were in the epicenter of colonialism created their own monsters. So that's the film about. Thank you.
I don't know if we have time for a very quick follow-up on just a couple of these
Very
last
quick.
points.
Chiara is already screaming at me because we're running too late.
Oh, well, okay. Ok, ma maybe...
Silently scream.
Dire soltanto una cosa, velocissimo.
Sure.
Siccome penso che anche voi qui possiate votare, fra 10 giorni c'è un referendum molto importante su queste cose.
That's right. Go vote. All right, we'll move on. I'll ask you in private after.
The next film is Luce. Directors are Silvia Luzi and Luca Bellino. Già, allontani il microfono. Non è Luce is a film that has a very, very strong female protagonist. And there too, there is a relationship between father and daughter, allegedly. We don't know. Who knows? And tell us something about this film. Very, very brief. I think the plot here is very, very important. And it can be complicated if people are not... Sì. Not complicated, but complex.
No, you're totally right. Sì, forse è complicato, però in realtà c'è solo una figlia che cerca suo padre. È molto molto semplice. Ma vi dirò poco forse del film perché avete la fortuna di poterlo vedere stasera alle 9. Quindi...
Ma non è un thriller comunque.
Non è un thriller, ma...
Che sveliamo.
Forse è più interessante adesso raccontarvi l'esigenza che avevamo nel creare questa storia, che sì, si trasforma anche un po' in un thriller, perché racconta di una ragazza e della sua lotta per diventare donna. E rientra un po' in quello che noi abbiamo sempre fatto nella nostra ricerca artistica, che è contrapporsi a ogni forma di potere. E il padre, l'idea del padre è tra queste. Ma il padre può essere il padrone, può essere lo Stato, può essere la prigione, può essere la fabbrica.
Leo, sei riuscito a seguire, no? Eri distratto da Chiara. Chiara è terribile.
No, I followed. So
non so cosa fare.
I will tell you briefly about the film because you have the good fortune to be able to catch it tonight at 9 p.m. So this is also a reminder for that. But the film is it's about a young woman who, well, I guess a young girl who's trying to become a woman. I guess that's the core, if I'm not mistaken. And it has traits of a thriller, and I think that's when I stopped.
Our idea of cinema. Our idea of cinema is based on a fight against power, any form of power. A power can be the father, can be the boss of a factory, can be the state, can be a prison. And we translate it in this idea. It's only a girl, the main character is Marianna Fontana, that maybe you remember it because was here in Open Roads. Yep. She opened with Indivisibili. Yep. She was a very young actress at this time, but she's still young. But what is interesting is what we want to do. We want to translate our, a big problem for all of us. What is truth? What is real today? And we translate it without an answer, because it's impossible to answer to this question today. We have We walk a lot in New York today, in Manhattan. We start from the Fifth Avenue in Trump Tower. After 2 blocks, we meet in hunger strike against the Gaza genocide. And we find the same people taking photos in the 2 situations with the gadget of the Trump Tower and with the hunger strike there. What is the truth? And this is our film.
And definitely, no, I totally understand it. And definitely, you're left with a doubt, because this girl, in the search for this father figure, she convinces somebody, let's very briefly, to fly a drone beyond the wall with a phone, beyond the wall, and beyond this wall there might be or might not be a prison where the father could or could not be an inmate. But then she starts receiving these phone calls from this mysterious, beautiful voice.
It's
amazing.
Ragno, another great Italian
incredible voice, very evocative, very warm. And at first she resists and she refuses, and then there is this sort of being enthralled in this dynamic, in this weird dynamic of these phone calls that arrive. And I think one of the things I notice is that the photography is spectacular, and it changes in a great deal. The factory, for example, or the outside, it's sort of, the colors are not very vivid. But then at some point when she receives the calls and she starts accepting them, the light becomes warm, and the colors around it are very different from the color palette that you have in the rest of the film. So it's like the suggestion that, after all, no matter who this person is, it is warming up her life and her heart on some level, even if she doesn't know, she's not sure of who she, and we are even less sure than she is.
Because the truth is what you need. This is a big problem today.
One quick question for you, and then
thank you. You are perfect. We are useless, completely useless.
You might have noticed that we have several couple directors. Several works were directed by 2 people. I don't think we have, how many? 4 in tutto. I don't think we have ever had such a concentration of. Why did you decide to work together? Sei stata obbligata. Hai già risposto.
Stefano,
guarda.
this is the question.
Allora, 2 sono fratelli, 2 of them are brothers.
We are not brothers, so
No.
you can say. Even we are not Geminis, twins. So no, we decided to work together just because we work well together. So
good.
I
Good
always
enough.
say that everything is it is not a big reason to work together, and just to feel fine. And for him, it's quite difficult to feel fine with me. For me, it's quite easy. But when you watch our movies, you can't see this problem inside. So in Luce, you can see the both of us, because it's a women, if you want, movie. Because all the main characters are women, so are
plus a disembodied voice of a man.
Yes, and men are invisible. So, no, it's a joke.
I think this was a very eloquent answer.
It's a joke, it's me. I am the strongest in the couple. No, it's a woman. In fact, is a woman, a story of women. Everybody's and men is the power in this movie, but not because men is the power and women are not the power, but because in that movie, the main character and all the girls that are real workers in a factories, in the south of Italy, not with no sun, no sea, no music, but not so sad. But it's an industrial south of Italy that, nobody shows an industrial south of Italy, because everybody thinks that south of Italy is not industrial, but it is. And so to do that film, we fight so much, and but in the movie you can see
It was
that.
worth it.
But it works.
Silvia,
so go
Luzi
to see.
and Luca Bellino. Luce.
Posso aggiungere una cosa? Per le storie dei nostri film Open Roads può essere importante. Noi eravamo stati qui col nostro primo film, Il Cratere, forse qualcuno lo ricorderà. Dopo Open Roads fu acquisito da una piattaforma e alla fine dell'anno Film Comment lo inserì tra i 100 film dell'anno da vedere, quindi
complimenti.
You want to say that, or do you want me to translate that part? Oh yeah, our previous film that was here, Open Roads, was Cratere, and Open Roads was very important because afterwards it was acquired for U.S. distribution. It was by Film Comment, and Film Comment placed it among a list of films to watch for that year. What was the top 100 films to watch for that year? Okay.
Thank you, Silvia and Luca. And now the last film that we are discussing is Iddu.
Iddu, Sicilian Letters, Antonio Piazza e Fabio Grassadonia. So the film, as you probably could tell from the trailer, is about a very dark chapter of contemporary history. I think when I was trying to think about what to ask, I came upon an interview that you gave when you spoke about how the genesis of the film was in part from reading the Pizzini themselves, right? That you were able to access them and see. So the Pizzini, for those of you who might not know, are the handwritten notes that mafia bosses use to communicate to their associates. And they're secret, they're passed around, and usually they're burned after all. And the film is constructed a little bit around this, the way that the Pizzini are moved around back and forth, in particular between the two protagonists played by Elio Germano and Tony Servillo. So yeah, if you can tell us a little bit more about how you constructed the story based on that, and if you want to add anything to this.
Hello, good afternoon. Yes, the film is the idea of the film and the script itself is based on the real letters exchanged by Matteo Messina Denaro with a very famous mafia boss, with a politician from his village. When we wrote the script, Matteo Messina Denaro was still a fugitive. He has been a fugitive for 30 years, and yes, indeed, it is a dark chapter of Italian history because they were always about to arrest him, but there was always someone saving him for some reason. And the reasons are not so difficult to imagine because there are politicians connected to him, Freemasonry connected to him, a politician from his own village, which is now in prison, on prison. I don't know how to say in English. Arresti domiciliari.
Oh yeah,
house arrest.
House arrest. Has been a senator for Forza Italia 25 years, and it was sottosegretario al Ministero degli Interni, Vice Minister of Interior in the Berlusconi's government. So the reason why he was not arrested are not so difficult to imagine, but we discovered these letters when he was still a ghost, and these letters were really impressive for many reasons. First of all, because we were discovering the world around him, which was ridiculous. His family is grotesque and ridiculous. This politician was grotesque and ridiculous. And even somehow the story of the attempt to arrest him were ridiculous. Then in this letter he was also mentioning philosophers, writers. He was mentioning Daniel Pennac, the French writer. He was mentioning the Bible. And this was strange because usually mafia bosses are illiterate. At home they have one book, the Bible, and they have not even read that one. And so that was revealing for us that this guy was different, and also revealing his personality, which for us was the one of a pathological narcissist. So there was a lot of money and narcissism involved with it. Then he was arrested 2 months before the beginning of our shooting. So we were about what if our bet was wrong? But then a lot of letters were discovered. He was even writing diaries. He had turned himself into a sort of strange epistolary writer. And in his last hideout, they discovered hundreds of books, Baudelaire on his bed table. And he was a cinephile. He had Antonioni, Coppola, of course, Joker, the poster of Joker on the fridge, and the entire first season of Sex and the City. So we knew we were right, and we could have made the film.
Thank you. That was great. Is one more of it?
So our time is running out, but I think we should accept at least a couple of questions from the audience, whether you have seen the films or you have curiosities that arose from the conversation. Arianna Farinelli.
Hi, how are you? I'm going to ask the diversity, equality, inclusion question, which you might know these policies are now forbidden, especially in universities here in America. So you're mostly men, but there's 3 female directors tonight. And so I would like to ask you how it is to be a female in this industry that was always made by men. And if you feel like there is an authority gap, like there is often in other industries, meaning that women are often considered less prepared, less knowledgeable, and for sure you guys are less, you receive less awards. This year, for the first time, a female director, first time in 70 years, a female director received an award for best director, best movie, best film. So I would like to know your experience.
Vuoi tu?
Sì, devo dire che questa notizia mi ha molto colpito quando ho letto che è stata la prima donna a ricevere, sorprendente, non l'avevo mai realizzato, non lo sapevo, e beh, mi ha fatto molto pensare che non siamo messi benissimo, ecco. Io in realtà, vabbè, sono più o meno 20 anni che lavoro, però questo è il mio primo film, quindi ho fatto una lunghissima gavetta e ho lavorato in tanti film, collaborando al montaggio, in ruoli dove ci sono più donne. Ed è quindi, sì, forse penso di essermi preparata un po' tutta la vita per fare questo film, ci ho messo tanto, ed è stato qualcosa che effettivamente all'inizio ho sempre pensato, mi interessava il cinema ma non sapevo esattamente in che ruolo, e mi sono trovata più a mio agio e sicuramente non sentivo che diciamo il mondo mi stesse aspettando rispetto mi sembrava una cosa troppo ambiziosa, ecco, pensare di fare questo, e quindi vabbè, è stato qualcosa a cui sono arrivata dopo tanto tempo, ecco.
So I was shocked when I discovered that that was the first time that a female director received the award, and made me think that we're not really doing all that well yet, but at least it's something. I myself, I've been working for 20 years, but this is my first film, so obviously I had many long years in which I had to do different professional experiences in order to work my way to making a films. For a long time I didn't think that it would be something, it seemed like not possible for a long time, but eventually, so I prepared my way, and this film, I feel like I've been working for a long time just to make this one film, and my first film.
Yeah, I will be short. I mean, more or less, I tried 15 years ago to do my first feature. It was a long way to arrive here for me as well. But I realized there's a change in generation, so I had no difficulties in working with men younger than 35 years. But I had a lot of difficulties in working with men who were a bit older than me. And I wanted to work with a female DOP, which was super hard to find in Italy. So in the end, I brought a DOP from Germany to Italy. So this is another thing, like directing is one thing, but photography is even worse. And I mean, you can feel it always a little bit. Like yesterday, a journalist, the first question she asked me was like, "You have such a beautiful face. Why are you behind the camera?" And I was like, I was shocked. I didn't even know, like, it was, obviously, she didn't want it to be mean, but she would never have asked this question to a good-looking man. So I was really shocked, and it's like my whole life, I think every woman, the whole life, hears these kind of comments all the time. So somehow, maybe we lose confidence, and I acted a long time because it was more obvious to act as a woman, but I always wanted to direct. So, and there's another thing. Now a lot of actresses start to direct, and I was asked, like, why do so many actresses now direct? And I answered, I think because they always wanted to direct, but they didn't have the courage.
Sì, no, io onestamente non mi pongo il problema di come, diciamo, ci poniamo noi donne verso la società, ma di come la società, sostanzialmente anche l'industria del cinema, si pone verso di noi, e onestamente io l'autorità intellettuale me la do da sola e non ho bisogno che me la dia assolutamente nessuno. Riconosco che ci sono dei limiti, riconosco che ci sono ancora dei gradini, degli step da fare, e non gioisco perché è stato preso un premio dopo 70 anni. Non è un premio che ci qualifica, ci qualifichiamo da sole e ci qualifichiamo tutti i giorni, non replicando molto spesso gerarchie imbecilli che sicuramente non ci appartengono.
Difficile tradurti. Silvia was saying that she really doesn't care about the perception that the industry has of herself as a director. She has a very strong opinion of who she is, of her intellectual authority, and it's unshaken on this. And she's not moved also by the fact that a woman received an award after 70 years. The awareness of who you are as a woman, as a director, as a professional in the film industry is something that you carry inside yourself. She's not ignoring the fact that there are obstacles and they exist and they should be removed, but all in all, the awareness of who you are is the most important thing. I think we had a very, very good discussion. Italian cinema. Italian cinema is alive, is well, and it's different, and it's full of different shades and nuances. welcome and thank you again to the delegation, the directors and the actors of Open Road. Thank you. Grazie.